Ryan, congratulations on your new deal. As a lifelong Salford fan, extending your stay here must make yourself and your family really proud.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously when I first signed here, it was obviously a special moment for me, but I understood there was a job to do as well. So you kind of find that balance of making sure that you remain switched on and focused at times, and let the family run away with their ambitions and excitement. So delighted, obviously. There's a lot that goes into it. And what the club have done for me over the last 12 months has been pretty special. So alongside with Paul Rowley, as soon as I was told he'd signed, it was a no-brainer.
And you must have noticed how much you developed as a player in the last 12 months. How have you sort of personally evaluated your first season at the club?
Yeah, good. I improved massively, but I knew I would with Paul and Kurt. Obviously, had a bit of a taste of Kurt's philosophy last season, obviously at Lee, and it was nice to obviously reunite with him and back with Paul Rowley again. And I knew it'd be a good year, and I knew I would develop into obviously a solid Super League player now. And it's something what I've been aiming for a while. I never really felt I'd comfortable or cracked Super League as such, but last year was probably the first time where I felt like I belonged here in Super League, and especially with the work that them guys did for me. Probably the best year of my career.
And so much about what was good about us last year was the spine with yourself, Sneedy, Brody, Ackers. How important has it been to sort of forge them relationships throughout the season?
Massive, yeah, and I think it's exciting that it's just a start as well. Obviously, the start of the year, you're still trying to figure stuff out, you're still trying to get to know each other's traits, and make sure you kind of are working together to get the result on the weekend. So we were gonna have bumps in the road, and that was quite evident early on. But obviously, the friendships form more than anything. I think everyone can talk about, obviously on the field, about how well we played together as a spine, but just how well we got on off the field. Obviously, there's a few group chats knocking around where you can imagine the banter what goes into them, but I felt like, especially towards the back end, we was really clicking, really finding our rhythm, and there's a real balance about us which offered a great threat from every part of the field. So I was obviously lucky to play and honoured to play my part in it, especially when you've got them three kind of directing and you're the last part of it. It makes my job a lot easier.
And looking at your sort of personal statistics, it's sort of clear you were improving week on week this season. You ended up 7th in the Super League in terms of try contributions. What do you sort of put that pattern of improvement down to? Is it purely down to working with Rolls and Haggy, or has there been some sort of thing within yourself this season?
Yeah, I think the team helps when you're winning. Obviously, when you're always on the front foot and you're successful, and the way we play, as you can imagine, enables me to have a lot of the ball, which is what I want. It's what I enjoy. So it's not that I even have to go looking for it. It kind of just ends up in your hand. And when you've got people outside, like obviously Tim Laffey, Dion Cross, Kenzie, or Joe Burge, people like that, it makes your job a little bit easier. And I always think, especially as a fullback, your halfbacks need to be really good to make you look good. And obviously I think we've got the best halfbacks in the competition with Brody and Sneedy. So my job's been really easy. I know obviously the stats, and it'll tell a different story in terms of what my contributions, but I just think on the back of what they've done for me, I get all the good bits and the glory at the end of it. But I just think the work they do in front of me is pretty special and shouldn't be underestimated. And especially the work Paul and Aggie did for me earlier in the year, because I was probably trying to do too much, if I'm honest, at the start of the season, trying to do everyone's job rather than my own job. And the more I stripped it back and just focused on what I was good at, obviously the better my performances came. So I think we're always learning, aren't we, in this game, and I think that was the big thing for me, making sure I keep learning, keep evaluating my performance, and just keep educating and keep getting better, because I always feel, or I've always felt, that this club and this team can win trophies, and obviously me extending my stay now for another 3 years, I always feel like that this is the place to be to win a trophy, and as long as we keep improving all together, I think we can do that.
And what about Paul? We've sort of already mentioned him. We had the incredible news last week that him and Kurt had extended for another 3 years. What influence did they have, first of all, on your decision to extend, and what's the last 12 months been like working with them in particular?
Yeah, massive. And I think I can speak for everyone in the fact that what Paul's done for this team and this club has been pretty remarkable, really, over the last 12 months. I think when I spoke to when he spoke to me about this new contract and what my thoughts were around stuff, I was only really comfortable in committing if he was the coach. I think I've been around the game long enough now that if there's other clubs and other coaches interested, I always feel like it's about where you're happy first and foremost to make sure you perform, and he certainly provides that. And I think Paul will be the first to admit I'm the one who he comes down on hardest more than anyone. So I definitely don't get an easy ride with him. It's pretty brutal, and I think that's the way it's always been. He's always come down hardest on me first because of the standards and what he expects of me. So it's a pressure that I like. It's a leadership role. It's a responsibility that I enjoy, and it's just another development in my game, in my career. But certainly in regards what Paul did for me, and even in the middle of the season, when there's a bit of interest there, he made me feel comfortable straight away, made me feel wanted, and pretty much said I ain't going anywhere. So it's nice to know that you're wanted and you're respected and held in high regard like that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's been clear from day one that you're a really determined and driven character who wants to achieve pretty big things. Where does that ambition come from?
I think obviously from a kid you dream of winning a trophy, don't you? You dream of winning a Super League trophy or a Challenge Cup trophy. And I think the more you go on in your career, the more desperate you get because you realise you're running out of time. I remember Stuart Littler, obviously ex-Salford player, saying, I think it was my first Challenge Cup game, I think I was 19, 20, Fellini's, and I remember him saying to me, or saying to the group actually, you don't get many chances at this Challenge Cup. And I'm thinking, well, 19, got loads of time. I'm 30 now, and I think the furthest I've got is a quarter-final. So he's right, like these games and these seasons go really quickly, and I want to start making them count. So last year was remarkable for me in terms of being able to go so far in the playoffs. I've never done that before, and I think everyone will benefit from that experience. And hopefully this time round, if we make the playoffs, we'll be better equipped for that, and we can handle the situations a lot better. But for me, it was more, I'm desperate to win a trophy, and I didn't want to go anywhere else because I feel like this is the team that will win a trophy, especially with Paul in charge. I said before the season ended that people kept asking me about how excited were you for the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, I was excited, but I'm also excited for the longevity, what Paul will bring in terms of success to this team. So it wasn't even about next year, it's about the year after that or the year after that. I just think this team will evolve into something special, and hopefully we can get over the line and get some silverware.
And there's clearly a really strong bond between yourself and the Salford supporters. How much does their support and their backing mean to you?
Yeah, it's special. I think when you kind of look in the crowd and you realise you've seen people for decades really, because obviously I've been stuck with them people. So I always said at the start, saying they're my people, and I feel like I've got a responsibility to perform for them because I'm one of them, and I've always known that if you give 100% for Salford, they're happy with that. So I'll always make sure it's my responsibility to make that a big pact to mine, that no matter what my performance looks like, as long as it looks like effort, I think they'll be okay with that. Luckily, we've got people like Brodie Croft in our team who can provide all that X factor and spark and fancy stuff. But in terms of my sole focus is making sure that every time I take to the field and wear that shirt, it's wore with pride and making sure I give nothing less than 100%.
And how much more do you think there is to come for you as a player?
Well, as I said before, I think last year was obviously my best year in Super League, but I felt like I only started clicking probably towards the back end of the season, and really finding my role in the team. As a spine, that I think that was quite evident. I think was all a little bit clunky at the start, but to try and get that rhythm, and especially the second half of the season, was pretty special. And I really the confidence flooding through the spine especially, to get results, and it felt like we were going to score every time we had the ball. It was mad. So that sort of stuff, hopefully I can take that confidence towards next season and like hit the ground running rather than that stuttery start we had. So I feel like I'm probably coming into my best years, especially as a Super League player, just a lot more knowledgeable and a lot more wise about the game, and I'm actually enjoying that sort of leadership role now as well, and responsibility to make sure that the young kids are looked after and leading by example really. So it's something what I've really enjoyed, and when they asked for my input, the coaches, and asked to enforce their philosophies, it's something what I've really enjoyed and really like. So hopefully a lot more of that, and again, you just don't know where this team can go really.
And finally, you're here now for another 3 years. Have you set any sort of long-term aims and objectives over that time?
To win a trophy. I think every player will say the same thing, and I'm no different. I just think the desire and the determination probably burns a little bit harder. Missing out so close to last season hurt, and it hurt for a while. It'll hurt for a long time with a lot of the boys, and I think after the game, me and Brody was talking to each other, texting each other about how we come back next year and win that game. Probably only me and Brody speaking about it. We're the nerds of the team, aren't we? But it's something what drives us hard. And when the grand final was on, me and Brody were speaking to each other then. It hurt. We were jealous about the two teams who was in there. We felt like we should have been there, and there's certainly a burning ambition to fix that and right that wrong, I suppose. So yeah, it's pretty simple and pretty a basic ambition, but I want to win a trophy, and I always feel like my career will be a failure if I don't win one, and that's how I see it. That's how I see it.
Ryan, I think I can speak for every Salford fan when I say we're buzzing you for the long term. Congratulations again on your new deal, and thank you for speaking for us.